Hi, welcome to Senior Moment, Successful Aging. Senior Moment, Successful Aging is co-sponsored by Area Agency on Aging NACOG and Yavapai College Division of Lifelong Learning. I'm Mary Beals-Lutka, your host, and I'm the director for the Area Agency on Aging. And you can reach us toll-free if you have any questions about aging or long-term supports and services. Give us a call, toll-free 877-521-3500. Our producer is Nancy Bennett, and you can reach Nancy at 717-7607. She'd love to hear from you because you might have ideas about shows that you want to hear about in the future, subjects maybe we haven't covered or you want to hear again, or you might have questions about today's show. So give Nancy a call, again at 717-7607. Our guest today is Mary Hawks. Hi, Mary.
Hello, Mary. Good to see you.
Good to see you, too. It's been a while since we've crossed paths.
It has been.
It has been. And Mary is the director for the Yavapai County Branch Office of the Better Business Bureau of Central, Northern, and Western Arizona.
It's a mouthful.
I thought my title was long, Mary. Let's start out and let our viewers know a little bit about your background.
Well, actually, during the last 30 years, I've worked in the areas of social services, community education, community outreach, public relations, and during the last 10 years, I've worked as the director of the Yavapai County branch for the Better Business Bureau.
You know, and we have known each other for a long time.
Yes, we have.
I used to work with your husband in social services, and I know you work with both nonprofit and government agencies. So I think a lot of folks don't really, they know the name Better Business Bureau. I mean, that's a well-trusted name, but maybe let's go back to the basics and talk about what does the Better Business Bureau do?
Okay, I'd be happy to talk about that.
What do they do?
I think I'll say first what we don't do or what we are not. Oftentimes people think Better Business Bureau is part of city, state, or federal government or receives city, state, or federal government funds. BBB is actually a private, non-profit agency that is not part of any governmental agency. And our mission is actually promoting ethics in the marketplace, where consumers and businesses can trust each other. Our services are free to the public, whether that's the phone call using our website, filing a dispute, that is a complaint, asking for our brochures, materials, that is all free to the public.
So what about for the businesses? Do they join? Is it a member organization?
Yes, it is. BBB is a member-based organization. That is, actually, BBB is funded through companies that are accredited with BBB who do pay annual dues.
Okay.
There is an accreditation process, though. Not every company can just call and say, I want to join. It is not automatic. We review the company, if there have been complaints, if they've resolved the complaints, the background of the principals and ownership, if there have been any court or marketplace issues with them. We review the advertising, we review the websites in terms of trust, honesty, and integrity, if they uphold the standards of BBB, and if they meet those standards, they can then become accredited. But if they are accredited, we do hold them to a higher standard. They have to respond to complaints in a good faith business effort. And if a company does not respond to complaints, or there's a pattern of complaints, or some serious governmental action, their accreditation can be terminated.
So that's a full-time job right there. Just trying to keep up with all the businesses. You have a large territory.
Yes, our branch, which is actually a branch of the main office in Phoenix, is the only branch north of Phoenix. So we actually cover the 5 northern counties: Mojave, Coconino, Yavapai, Apache, and Navajo. We're based in Prescott in Yavapai County, however.
Which is, and Yavapai County is one of our big counties.
Oh, yes. Indeed.
This is where the population is.
Indeed, but we get calls from all over northern Arizona, or let's say there's an organization in Apache County, and they think, would really like you to do a presentation on scams against seniors to our group here. We will, of course, try to arrange that, go out and provide that service to that community.
So as the director, do you do most of the presentations yourself?
Yes, I do, actually.
So you're like me, on the road.
And actually, our services, a lot of people think, when they think of BBB, or at least this is what I hear, and think of, oh, that's that place you call when you have a complaint.
True.
And yes, we do have a dispute resolution process whereby BBB acts as a neutral third party to help that consumer work out the issue. But most of our inquiries come from consumers and businesses when they're checking out a business or a charity. Hopefully before doing business with a charity, sometimes after the fact, after they've had a problem and they want to see if there have been complaints. But that is something, our database covers the United States, Puerto Rico, and Canada.
That is huge. So you have access to the database.
Yes.
So I could call you and say, hey, I heard from this charity, they want to be involved with the Area Agency on Aging or whatever. You can then let me know what a report on them?
Yes, if we have a report on the company, we'll share that. However, that's public information.
Okay.
Anybody can access that information by going to our national website, which is bbb.org, quite simply. And
So
searching
they can do
for
it
that.
themselves,
They can
which
do it,
is-
or they can call us. Our office here locally in Prescott is open Monday through Friday, 8 to 2 p.m.
So be proactive.
Oh,
Don't
yes.
call after the fact, it sounds like.
I think one of the saddest things I hear is when somebody calls and says, can you tell me about a company? And we pull up the report, and maybe it's not a good report. Maybe they have an F rating. Maybe they have 700 complaints over the last 3 years and haven't responded to any of them. And the individual who is calling has done business, and you hear a sign, they say, I wish I'd checked with you before I gave them my money.
So that's a message, right now we need to
Yes.
get out to everyone that's watching is call first.
Call first. I mean, obviously, if it's a company you know locally, you've done business with, your friends or family members have used them, you feel comfortable and trust them, that's one thing. But if it's a company that you're not familiar with, or maybe it's an online company. I order from online companies that I'm not familiar with, but I check them out first. So certainly, check them out, and it gives you the information you need to decide whether or not I want to do business with this company.
Is this a legitimate company? So what is your phone number?
Our phone number locally is 928-772-3410.
So they can call there, or they could just go onto the national website as
Yes.
well and pull down the same information.
Yes, that is
basically.
correct.
And so if I'm looking at a company, I don't see them. What does that mean? Does that mean they just haven't bothered to join, or there might be something bad? What does that mean if I can't find
It can
them?
mean any number of things.
Yeah.
One, when searching, we recommend just put in the company name and maybe the city, state, if you know that, or maybe just the company name by itself. If you don't find it, try the phone number. Because maybe you think the company's name is the first plumbing store to go to, and you put in first, F-I-R-S-T, but maybe it's actually the number one. It may not pull up that way. So double check with the phone number, or maybe with the website address. Anyone can check by all of those individual specific parameters. But if you tried all that and don't find the information, or somebody calls us and we don't have any information, that can mean several things. Our database is comprised of business reviews for companies that are accredited. So if a company is accredited, there will be a full review. However, if a company comes to the attention of the BBB, either because of a fair number of consumer inquiries, or there has been just even one complaint process during the last 3 years, we will develop a business review on that company. So if you don't find anything at all, and you're absolutely sure you've checked by all possibilities, that technically, generally means the company is not accredited with BBB. It can also mean we've not had any inquiries on the company, therefore have not developed a report. It can also mean there hasn't even been a complaint. But unfortunately, with some scam companies, they will change their name, they'll change their address, they'll change their phone number frequently. So they may do business under one name, close up shop, open up business under a brand new name. So if a company is new, or if it's doing business under a new name, that may not show up. In those cases, people can call us and we'll be happy to talk with them about the scenario. In other words, what is this company saying that they will sell or provide to you? What is their product or service? Are they asking for money from you? And we'll be happy to talk with that person to see if there are any red flags there, or if it's an industry where there might be a regulatory or competency agency, we will get that person the contact phone number for that regulatory agency so that they can call, is this company licensed as they need to be in this state? So we can offer, in some cases, another option to check for information.
You know, and then you briefly mentioned scams, and 99% of the time, the scams are companies that do exactly what you said. And how do we get folks to be more proactive before they shell out the money, before they sign the dotted line?
Yes. Actually, I would say there are a lot of things that consumers can do, because sometimes things sound very, very tempting, and you think maybe it sounds too good to be true. Maybe the offer is you've won something free, but they're asking for your credit card number just to pay for postage, or is what they say. Maybe it's a free trial offer, but yet they ask for the credit card number to pay for the postage for that trial offer. Maybe it's an investment that sounds just absolutely unbelievable. In those cases, people need to sit back and think, should I do business with this company? Check them out. And there are things that people can do, and I'm sure you've mentioned this to people too, Mary. Asking for information up front, asking for written information. And if the company doesn't want to answer you, that gives you something right there. For example, I had a telemarketing call a few weeks back, and I talked to them because I want to see what the offer is to help me assist the community if this is a call that's being made to other members of our community. And I said, well, can you send me written information? I think I might be interested. And they hung up on me as soon as I asked for written information. So it kind of gives you a clue right there. But even if the company does send written information, that doesn't necessarily mean it's on the up and up. But it gives you something further to look at. Check with BBB. If there's a contract that they're asking for, read the fine print. Read everything. Don't sign documents that might have blank spaces. I'll give you another example. A personal example. We were having some work done at our home with a contractor, and we had them out. My husband and I read the contract, and of course the contractor was bored because we were sitting there actually reading the contract, but there was a statement in there that we felt we could not agree to. So reading that contract gave us the opportunity to question that statement and decide whether or not we wish to sign the contract or ask them to amend the contract. But it's those types of things that give you the protection as the consumer, as the individual who's willing to spend their money, but make sure you spend the money with a company you can trust.
You know, and unfortunately a lot of our clients that are older can't replace that money.
That's right.
And so, it's just so important, and I think as family members to help your grandmother, your mother, your grandfather, and sometimes I have clients say, well, I just can't read through all that. Well, then find somebody to help you.
Right.
If you don't have a neighbor or a family member or a friend, call the area agency on aging. We'll look the contract over for you too and help you read through it. And not necessarily interpret it, but certainly just reading it is eye-opening, isn't it?
Oh yes, it can be.
They said what?
Right. I don't remember they're mentioning that. And I think it brings up a good point, Mary, too, is that what you're promised verbally may sound great, but it's what's in the contract that counts. And I know we get calls on this frequently, particularly from some of our community members who are older. They're approached about an alarm system or security system in their home, and it sounds like a great deal, but the details are in the contract. How much you'll be charged a month. Is the contract for 1 year or 5 years, which can make a large impact on the bottom line dollar amount that you will pay.
And also I think you mentioned earlier too about when you accept an agreement as a trial offer, if you don't read the fine print, it's going to start charging your credit card every month, and it is, holy heck, to get it
to stop.
To get it to stop. I've done it.
Yes.
And I consider myself a pretty savvy person, and I thought, I'll try this is a great trial.
Yes. Oh yes.
And I really had a lot of trouble getting them to stop charging my credit card or bank drafts.
That's correct.
Once you give them your bank account, I had to switch bank accounts.
And what you are describing is not an uncommon scenario
No.
where you think it's a great free trial offer, and there are some good ones out there.
Yes.
There are, of course, that are honest and you know, say what the contract really means if there is a contract or agreement. But yes, you think you're getting a free trial, and we often see this with vitamins or health products.
Makeup.
Or makeup,
Yeah.
yes, whether it's
Skincare.
online
Yeah.
or on television. And that you think all you're paying for is the postage for that one-time free trial offer. But just as you said, there's a monthly, or what they don't read may be in the terms and conditions, which actually say, yes, you can cancel, but it has to be in 7 days. But that what they don't tell you is the 7 days may start from the time you place the order, not when you actually receive the order, which could be maybe 14 to 21 days after you place it. So by the time you get it, you're already past the cancellation period.
And then you have to give notice. Sometimes it's 60 days, 90 days, and then you're stuck paying that
Yes.
that charge. And you know,
Right.
with those folks, a lot of the folks that I serve are on a fixed income.
Yes.
And you know, it may not sound like a lot of money, but every dollar counts.
And it adds up, too,
And it
particularly
starts
if you
to add
have
up.
trouble stopping it. And people will say, well, I called and I canceled. That might be fine and good, but if you looked at the details, it might say cancellation needs to be in writing to a specific address or by telephone to a specific phone number so many days in advance. So even just when you think you've canceled, you may not have actually canceled per the terms of the agreement.
Exactly. And you know, this sort of segues right into the next part that we wanted to talk about, and that's just scams in general.
Yes.
And you know, how many there are and some of the red flags that come up.
Oh, yes. And you know what I'd like to preface that with, Mary, is we can talk about the scams and all the problems, but what I hope people take away is what they can do
Yes.
to protect themselves. Like not, oh my gosh, I'm so scared now, but hey, I have control over this. There are certain things I
Yes.
can do to protect my information or to learn to just say no.
No.
So I hope that's what people take
Yeah.
away from that there is something they can do. But there are some scams that I'll mention, and you probably think, well, Mary, that's been around forever. And yes, some of them have been around forever, but they continue to affect people, maybe with new twists and turns, but they're still there. So some of the ones that we hear about locally in northern Arizona that just won't go away are the emails or letters to individuals saying you've won the lottery, sweepstakes, or a government grant. And I know you're nodding your head too, thinking, yep, they've been around.
Mhm. I get them
Yes,
too.
yes, but some of them, I would say over the 10 years I've been director of this BBB branch, early on I would say watch out for misspellings, errors in grammar, and that's still true. However, we've seen that these communications from scam artists, they've cleaned up their act. You don't see the spelling errors or the grammar errors as much as you used to. Some of the letters that people might receive look absolutely wonderful. They look very professional. They may have logos of nationally recognized companies or brands to make it appear more impressive. They are more convincing, in other words.
Yeah.
And some of them, particularly with the lotteries, may also already include a check for supposed winnings, supposedly, the advance, so that you can deposit that. And then there's generally some kind of fee, a legal fee, an insurance fee. So what they will typically ask is that you deposit the check and then immediately wire the funds to help pay for those fees, and then before you know it, you'll have your whole winnings. Well, we both know that it's a scam. The check is generally stolen or counterfeit. And so what that person believes may really be a good check is actually part of the scam, in that it's a stolen check.
And it's going to bounce.
And it's
then
going to bounce.
Their account's going to not only pay for what they sent them,
Yes.
but for the check itself. Everything's, it's just a negative, negative.
Yes. And I don't know if you've seen any of those checks, Mary, but sometimes they even have watermarks on them, as
Yes,
many
I
checks
have.
do. And they look so real. And sometimes people will call us and say, well, you know, you've told me all this, that it's probably a scam, but I think I'll take it to the bank anyway and see what they say. And sometimes the bank employees can't even tell if it's a bona fide check or stolen or counterfeit check. Worst case scenario, and I do want to mention this too, is that some individuals who've deposited checks that even though they truly think they've won a lottery, or maybe it's part of a job scam or overpayment on something they've sold on eBay, deposited thinking it's a good check, have been subject to criminal investigation because they have deposited a stolen or counterfeit check, even though they truly thought in good faith that it was a real check.
I never would have thought of that. Oh my goodness.
Not that they're prosecuted, but they become
still,
part of that investigation.
That's a stressful thing.
It's very stressful. And another thing too, because this is one that comes up so frequently, sometimes consumers will say, just as I've said, well, I'm going to take it to the bank and see what they say. So let's say, for example, the consumer takes it in on Monday and says, well, let's deposit it and see what happens. Then let's say they go back to the bank on Friday and they say, well, what happened with the check? And the bank may say, well, here are your funds. That does not mean that the check was good. It means that the bank is fulfilling their legal responsibility to give you the funds for the check, generally within 5 business days if the check is below $5,000. Does not mean the check was good.
Because it can still come back on you.
It can still come back weeks later because sometimes it's very convoluted and purposely so, because that's the way the scam artist set it up, that the bank will say, that check was not any good.
They really stay up late at night thinking about this
Oh,
stuff,
they do.
don't they? It's like,
They do.
I laugh, but it's not funny.
No, and I go into detail about this one because this is the one that keeps coming up so
coming back and
frequently.
back.
Yes, it does. And we see variations. I know particularly many individuals in our communities are looking for jobs. And they might see a job online or on TV that says, work from home 15 hours a week, no experience necessary, earn thousands of dollars every week, sometimes every month. It sounds very good, and as you know, it sounds too good to be true. It's probably a scam just to get your money. But oftentimes some of our seniors in the community will tell me, well, I'm just looking for a part-time job at home. And that sounds like it fits the bill. And they'll often say, okay, we're going to hire you as a mystery shopper, and your first assignment is we're sending you a check, deposit it in your personal bank account, and then wire the funds. So this is another variation of the fake check scam. Not only lottery, but also for employment scam too.
So, yeah, I didn't even think about that. So we could call the BBB on an employment offer. Same thing.
Yes.
Is this a legitimate company?
We can check to see if we have a report on the company, or if they describe the job scenario to us, we can see if it has some of the red flags of an employment scam.
Because there are a lot out there, and people are, the economic downturn in the last few years. I mean, it is getting better.
Yes,
but
it is.
It's really affected, in particular, I believe, the seniors, because they have a fixed income and a fixed retirement.
Yes.
The 401ks tanked, their investments went down, and so they're looking for way. And when you get a check in the mail, it's like, oh, I need this money so bad.
Yes.
So you tend to just forget about all the red flags that we're just talking about.
Right.
So we just have to make sure people, again, just over and over, be proactive, pay attention.
Yes.
The door to door, do you still see that?
Yes. Particularly in the spring and summer. I mean, it can occur any time of year. And door to door sales aren't necessarily scams or schemes to take your money. But I would hold up a big red flag in the air, say, proceed with caution, because some of them are. And they vary everything from offers to sell meat, I mean like steaks and such, to magazines, to home repairs, to switching satellite service, to selling home security systems. There are quite a few of them out there. And first thing I would say, don't let strangers in your home.
No.
Period.
What if they're canvassing it for something else?
Right. And that could always be a possibility too. I mean, we want to trust people. We do. Now, if it's your next door's neighbor's daughter who's selling cookies for the Girl Scouts, or maybe selling holiday wrap or candy for the school, we won't, we know our neighbors' kids,
Yeah.
and we know the school they're talking about. But if it's someone you don't know, in particular, if you say, well, sometimes they'll even say I'm local. That may not be true. But coming to the door, so don't unlock your door to strangers. And let's say you're tempted. You think, well, maybe I am interested. Have them hold up a business card. Don't unlock the door to take the business card. Have them hold it up, write down the information. And in most, I will say many or most of our communities, our cities and towns have what's called a peddler's license or a similar term.
Okay.
So that if somebody is knocking on your door, they first, per that city requirements, had to have applied for a peddler's license with that city or township so that they can sell their goods or solicit their products or services door to door. So the other question you can ask is, show me your peddler's license.
And also, I guess the question we can, the takeaway is call the BBB or go online and find out you can go online and find out what licenses are required?
No.
Or you call?
No, you would call. But
Okay.
generally,
Okay.
if we're talking some of our larger cities, perhaps like Prescott and some of our other cities, they have what's called a peddler's license.
Good to know.
It's and the person should be willing to show that to you. And if they don't show it to you, that tells you right then and there they did not go through your city's proper channels to get that peddler's license.
Don't unlock the door.
Don't unlock the door.
Don't unlock the door. So the takeaways from today, like you said, really being proactive and calling the Better Business Bureau.
Don't give out your personal financial information, whether it's somebody coming to the door, a telemarketer, or a good deal from a company you don't know anything about online from a pop-up ad. Be very cautious with that credit card or bank account information. You may think, oh, I can trust them or I can stop the payments. Sometimes, as you mentioned, it's not that easy.
No,
So
it isn't.
protect your personal and financial information. Check the company out. If in doubt, proceed with caution.
Yeah, and take and be proactive.
Oh,
And
yes.
so we're so blessed to have the BBB right here in Prescott and to have you
thank
here.
you.
And so I know you're also available for talking and
Oh, yes.
doing presentations.
Yes,
So
if a group or organization would like a speaker on scams against seniors, homeowner scams, various other topics,
Call
we're certainly
Mary.
available.
Call Mary Hawks. And Mary, thank you so much for being
Thank you,
with
Mary.
us. It's good to see you again.
So good, yes.
And it's good to have you all with us here today on Senior Moment with Mary Hawks from the Better Business Bureau. Senior Moment, successful aging. Until next time.